Previously on the Frontier Farmer. Good grief, that sounds like a wolf. You better stay back. Oh, sounds like it's gone, Artemus. Looks like that wolf has really... made a mess. So I'm good to start constructing our mill. And there it is. But what we're going to be placing here is this old French dovecote. Unload our oats. And the last one, harvesting our sorghum. This is going to be our chicken feed. We are drilling canola. Well, that worked out pretty well in the end. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Frontier Farmer at the Dark Forest. Just been enjoying a cup of coffee at the Pioneer tent this morning. It is a rather nice morning, but we are creeping ever closer into autumn because we are now in September. But luckily we managed to recover and tidy up all of our crates of potatoes, sugar beet and honey since our wolf attack last time. But we haven't seen or heard the wolf since, so that is a good sign. Also, I've been busy placing in some more sheds to house our equipment. We only had the one long tool shed for our forage wagon, but now we have an extra two, and one has our harvester in it, the John Deere Lance, and I think we'll keep one open for another piece of equipment, potentially the wheel loader. Now, of course, we drilled some canola, and now that we've moved into September, that has germinated because we drilled that and rolled that all quite nicely. And yet, thanks to mowing the grass and ploughing in this area, we have reached full fertilisation for most of the part. There are a couple of patches, but pretty negligible, and I don't want to be going through the crop and spraying it and damaging it. But we have two fields that we need to flip. The field number 2 and where our sorghum was that we harvested, and field number 1 where we had some oats. And of course the oats have been busy processing in our new windmill on top of Windmill Hill there, you can see in the distance. Now that's processed all of the oats into flour, so at some stage we will need to do something with that flour. But for now we are going to be getting a manure spreader so we can get field number 1 and field number 2 flipped and added some fertiliser, so the manure will add on a good layer of fertiliser, and we'll be getting the manure from our dovecote, which has been busy working away converting the straw into manure. So if we look at the menu, we can see that we've worked our way down through the straw. I think we were at 25,000, we're now at 16,000 litres, and that has made 12,000 litres of manure. So that bio fertiliser is really going to help fertilise these two fields in readiness for us to drill our next crop. So I'm going to hop in the farm, we'll go to the distribution centre and see what they've got on offer by way of manure spreaders. Fire up and away we go. And it's definitely starting to get a bit misty in the mornings now that we're creeping into autumn. And yeah, we better get everything prepared and nicely sorted before winter kicks in. Right, let's check on manure spreaders. So this Lizard N219/5 seems to fit the bill quite nicely as a manure spreader. It can take 3,500 litres, only needs 30 horsepower to run, and has a width of 3 metres, so not too shabby. And it costs 5,200. But what's good about this is it seems to be quite versatile, so we can configure it when we get back to the homestead if we need to, into a standard trailer, a volume trailer for things like chaff and forage, and then it can also be a bale trailer, which is quite handy. And then a bale trailer with the back open as well. So yeah, pretty versatile, but we'll be purchasing it as a manure spreader first and foremost, and then configure it later if we need to. Now I do need the drawbar in order to attach and pull this, and we'll need to lower that drawbar down so it is at the right height for the PTO that's going to attach. Let's get the manure spreader hooked on. There we go. And what's nice is we have a nice little shaft that runs between the tractor and the manure spreader. Be good to see that in operation. Yeah, let's get this back to the homestead and filled up from our dovecote. So the plan is we will manure spread and then cultivate in that manure into the ground to prep it ready for drilling. But I'll start with field number 1 where our oats came from. And that's just because I don't know how far the manure is going to go, so we might have to switch if we've run out of manure to man-made fertiliser. Let's see about filling this up. There we go, 3,500 litres. Fantastic. Oh, there's a stump there that I need to clear. I'll have to come back and get that at some point. Let's head over to field number 1, and we will start in the top left-hand corner. Now 3 metres is the width on this, so I will have to start off by guesstimating how much it's going to be. I reckon probably about that much. Right, let's fire on and see how we get on. Okay, so not quite as wide as I was thinking. And I can hear this thing jingling away quite nicely. But what's difficult is I don't think we're getting much of a texture change. I might see it more as we turn around. But we are chewing through this manure, and we are adding the primary state of fertilisation to this field, which is fantastic. So I'm going to get busy going around this. I will top up with manure if we need to. We're down to 80%, so I'm hoping we're going to have enough manure, but if not we'll have to switch to man-made fertiliser as mentioned. So leave this with me, and I'll see you when we're finished. Okay, so I think I've covered the field. I'll take a little look at the map and see what's been covered, but it is quite tricky to see where we have and haven't been. I've been using the tyre marks from where we've been driving to indicate where we have and haven't been. So the only spot might be that little loop at the end in the middle. So let's take a look at the map and see. Oh dear. So as you can see, it looks a bit of a mess, but if I turn off a few things it might look a little bit neater. But we have a couple of strips where we have missed. I'm not going to go over because we're going to waste quite a bit of manure, but I am going to cover these two sort of big blotches up the other end of the field. And the areas that we haven't been able to cover, those little strips, we will just have to accept that. It is difficult with using older equipment and not being able to see where you have and haven't been, that you got the right coverage. And that unfortunately is just a byproduct from not having advanced equipment. We are of course running Frontier vintage equipment, so what we've got at our means and at our disposal is not always the most optimum. So yeah, that's just the lay of the land, as it were, and the way things are. So I've covered those 2 little patches, and that's as best as I think I can get coverage for. Of course, once we've drilled and the seeds have germinated, we will come along and spray or spread the field to get it to the secondary level of fertiliser. But for now, let's grab another half load to top up the manure spreader, and we'll move on to the second field where we harvested our sorghum previously. And I wonder if the stalks are going to give way to us driving in the field. I probably would imagine we would destroy them, but now that we've harvested it, they might be a little bit more robust. Let's just drive in and have a look. Yep, they're not going to give way. So this field is probably going to be harder for us to see where we have and haven't been. So I'm going to do my best to gauge it, and then I will try and use the map to understand where we have and haven't been. But we should have enough manure to see us through these 2 fields, hopefully. So once more, I'll carry on and get this all spread. Okay, so we will switch off, and I'm hoping that that area is going to be better covered than the first field, because I was very conscious to close the gaps and make sure to stay pretty tight to where I'd just driven, and I think I was overcompensating because I couldn't see at all where I had been or was going in that field. I of course had some patches that I missed. I don't know how, but yeah, it's really difficult to see where you have and haven't been when there's very little visual cue on the field. Now, I could have cultivated these fields first of all and then spread the manure, and that might have given me a better idea of where I had and hadn't been. But to me, I felt it was better to manure spread and then cultivate in, so the fertiliser is embedded into the soil that is going to get cultivated ready for drilling. But yeah, maybe it would have been easier and better to do it the other way. But for now, we can move on because we have spread as best we can the fields, so they've got their primary level of fertiliser, and now we can move on to cultivating. Right, so let's park up our lovely manure spreader. It is a decent manure spreader, it's only a small one and got a not very wide working width, but nonetheless it has done a good job. And we will pick up our cultivator, case IH45, which I think is a little bit wider than 3 meters, so going to have less passes on this job. So we'll start with field number 1 and work our way over to field number 2, and this will turn in all the stalks from the oats and the sorghum. Now in the future I would like to get a mulcher, but unfortunately the funds of the homestead are low, and I have other plans for the money that we have got. That's going to go into chickens, as we need to get some chickens up and running to get some eggs. But yeah, we can lower the cultivator and turn this field over and get it ready for the next crop. So I'm going to crack on with field 1 and 2 and see you when we're finished. Last strip of the second field, and most certainly it is easier for us to see where we have been when we are cultivating. Fantastic. So we've got a lovely mulched, cultivated, stalks churned into the ground type texture on field 1 and 2 now, which is fantastic. Now I'm going to see about giving the cultivator a little service, just because the service indicator is telling us it's a little below the top level, so we want to make sure it's in good condition. But I am now not convinced whether it would have been easier to manure spread now, because the mulched texture might have made it difficult to see where the manure has been spread. I will probably look to test it in a next cycle of crop, but let's for now get this serviced up. There we go, a few things needing a bit of a service there, but we are back up to the top level, so that is good. Right, next we'll get the cultivator parked up, be grabbing the seed drill. We'll need to top that up with seed and fertiliser, and we'll be drilling both those fields. I think field 1 we are going to put wheat in, and field 2 we are going to put barley in, as those are the two crops that we can drill in September, and those are going to go towards our chicken feed for the future. But we have some sorghum stashed away in the trailer that's parked in the shed, and that is going to be used for chicken feed first of all, and then the wheat and barley will act as a bit of a top up as the year progresses. Right, so seed drill attached, and it's still set to canola, as that's what we drilled previously in field number 3, which is our biggest field. But we will get the cover open and switch it to wheat first of all, because that's what's going to go in first. But here from our commodity shed we can nicely top up with seed and with fertiliser. Now annoyingly I couldn't refill the seed drill with solid fertiliser, so I'm having to get the bucket and the wheel loader to drop that in. It looks to be working. There we go. So that is topped up, and we can deposit the rest into the commodity storage yard, which I think we drop off over here. There we go. Perfect. So we have full fertiliser and full seed. We are set to wheat, so we can get started drilling our first field. Now of course I forgot that we were able to fertilise with our drill, so that means we aren't going to need to come and spray and spread any more fertiliser unless there's some significant patches that aren't on secondary level fertilising, because we've missed them with the manure spreader. But we've got wheat set, so we can lower away. Look out, Artemus, we are coming through and drilling our wheat, and we will get this field drilled with wheat, and then we will move on to field number 2 to drill with barley. So leave this job with me, and I'll see you when we finished. We should have enough seed and fertiliser to cover both field 1 and 2, because we managed to do field number 3, which is probably about the size of field 1 and 2 combined, if not even bigger. I'll see you soon. Fantastic. So that's the 2 fields drilled, one with wheat and one with barley. Fantastic. And it looks like we fertilised up to secondary level in most parts. There's a couple of little patches that I can see that are still primary level, but we will check that out on the map, and if it's enough and warrants us doing another coverage, then we will do. But if it's only a small patch, then that is a bit negligible, and we can just leave that to be single fertilised only. Now we will park up the seed drill, although I'm going to leave it out of the way of the roller because we will come back to rolling later on. We will need to roll those fields, and I'll park up the seed drill because we are going to move on to a little project this afternoon, and that is going to be setting up some chickens. So that is dropped off there. I'm going to grab the winch because we've not used it in a long while, and we're going to be making a little patch area for us to get our chicken coop set up. Now I need to move the skid steer for this. There we go, we have the winch, and the purpose of that is I'm just going to use it to scrape some of the ground away over here, because I have elected this little patch of ground to the left to house our chicken coop. So I'm just going to quickly scrape all of this shrubbery and grass away, and then we can get our chicken coop set up. And there we are. It's cost us 4,500, but we have a small little chicken coop. Now I think this can house around 40 to 50 chickens. So yeah, we can take a little look in here. It's a nice place for them to nest and lay their eggs. Little grain trough out here, and I think this is where all the eggs are going to get collected and deposited. We've got a good amount of space around it in case we need to get around it and so forth. A couple of old bits of junk here, but that's okay. Alright, so I am going to grab the flatbed trailer because we are now on a mission to try and source some chickens. And I've heard a rumour of an animal dealer somewhere in the wilderness of the dark forest. So we are going to need to get the flatbed trailer so we can transport some chickens. So we will grab the flatbed bale trailer, that's going to be perfect. And luckily we still have the winch, as we're going to need it, because I think the direction where the animal dealer is just past the fuel station. And if you recall from I think the first episode, there is a tree blocking the path, so we will have to drag that out of there. But yet the tractor needs refueling as well, so luckily we can refuel once we go past it. But before we set off, I'm just going to show you on the map where the animal dealer is located. So here is the homestead, our 3 fields and our new chicken coop. Fantastic. And the pathway runs along here to the distribution area, and then we have a rough track that we can follow down here to the fuel station, and this is where the log was blocking the track. Further on down here I think we've discovered there is some sort of production, but we will investigate that in the future. And then along the path over this way past another lake there looks to be an animal dealer, and yeah, we don't know much about it, so we are going to head over that way and check it out. So it's a long way, as you can see, but I've got to stop by the distribution centre so we can purchase something that is going to help us stash those chickens away. Right, here we are, so let's call in and see if we can get something to help transport the chickens. Right, so they have this lizard chicken transport crate. It's 500, and I think we'll buy one for now because we can do multiple trips if we need to, and the bank account is looking a little bit tight at the moment, and we've still got to buy our chickens. And here it is. So we should be able to lift this up and get it onto the trailer. It's a bit heavy, but we've got it on there. So let's strap it on so we don't lose it. And we'll head on down the country track, and we will need to fuel up and also clear that log that is in the way. Now it's a fair old ways down here, but we have reached the fuel station. And I'm going to stop on this side so we keep the trailer clear of where we need to get that log out of the way. So let's fuel up the tractor. There we go, $108. Put some money in the meter, so we did pay for it. And here is the log that is in the way. Now it looks like we could have gone around it, but makes sense we get it out of the way for anyone else who might be travelling around here. So let's just hop out and we can get our trusty axe out to chop this stump away. There we go. And I'm also going to see about chopping off the spindly bits of the tree, the branches and the foliage. There we go, that's looking a bit neater. So we can put that away and we should be able to just get a bit closer and winch up to this tree. There we go. We have attached to it. So let's see if we can push it back. And then that should give us enough turning space to be able to take it down the track and to the logging sell point. Now it is getting a little bit dark because it's 3:30 and it's nearly autumn time, so we are starting to lose the light earlier. I want to make sure I clear the fuel pump. I don't want to be causing any explosions and disasters, as that would be a major problem. Right, I think we are clear, so let's get this log up the track and taken to sell. Bit of a slow journey, but we've made it. So we'll get it near the sell point and chop it down into 6-meter logs. Okay, so we've chopped that down as best we can. So let's sell that. I mean, we did clear it, so it's only fair that we sell it. And 6,500, not bad. I think the price of wood must be good at the moment. Right, let's head on back down the track, regain the trailer, and we can head on off and see if we can find the animal dealer to get some chickens. I don't think I've ever used the lights on this tractor, but luckily it does have them in case it gets a little bit dark later on. And here we are. Let's pick up the trailer. And some of our other equipment at the homestead might need refueling at some point, so we may look to get a Bowser or some sort of fuel tank that we can take back to the homestead, and of course a fuel storage tank that we can keep closer to home, so we haven't got to come all this distance to refuel. Right, let's head on down here and see what we can find then. Looks like we are coming to an opening. My gosh, this is quite an opening. And there's a building over here, and this was what looked to be a production area on the map. So let's just head over and see what it is. Okay, so they've got wood out the front, and it looks like they've got some sort of log stacking area there. This circular pit looks to be for wood chips, and then they've got all sorts of piles of planks and logs over here. So I'm just going to knock on the door and see what's going on. So we have seen that this is in fact a sawmill, and it will convert wood into planks and various other wooden outputs, and that is going to be potentially handy in the future if we're going to be building some grander buildings and productions on the homestead. But it's nice to know that there is some life in the dark forest. It's not just us, but yeah, everything is quite a distance from each other, so it's well spread out. Right, I think there's another track somewhere over this way where we can maybe try and find the animal dealer. This looks to be it. Now this is a very long and winding track. Been driving for quite some time and haven't reached our destination yet. And we are approaching something else. Alright, end of the line. I think we found a very overgrown patch here. But yeah, it looks to be an animal dealer. So I'm just going to knock on the door and see what's what. But yeah, this is truly end of the line and quite a way down the track. It did take a long time to drive here. Let's see if there's anyone in. So I've had a chat with the animal dealer and he's very willing to sell us some chickens. So I've taken the pallet off and we can see which chickens we want to buy. Now you can get fully grown chickens that are going to be ready and producing eggs already, although they're $50 a chicken. So I think we're going to go for the younger ones and deal with the puberty period of 6 months, which means we'll have to wait a little while before they are making eggs. Maybe we can actually buy a bit of both just so we have some variety, and we are making eggs earlier. So we are definitely going to buy a rooster so the rooster can mate with the chickens and make more. Then it seems like we've got space for 7 more chickens, so I'm actually going to get 2 of the mature chickens, and then the remaining 5 I will get as younger chickens so they can grow and produce eggs in the future. Fantastic. So there we go, we've got our rooster, our 2 mature chickens, and then our 5 younger chickens. So I will lift you up here. Oh god, heavy. There we go, chickens are on board. Fantastic. Right, so thanks very much. Good to know that this is here, and if we need to come and purchase some animals in the future, whether it be sheep, pigs, cows, then we can do. Fantastic. So it was very beneficial us moving that log out of the way and exploring down here, even though it was a long old drive. But let's head back home. I'm definitely ready to get back home. I don't want it to get dark whilst we're in this wilderness, and we can get our chickens in the chicken pen. Stumbled into some deer. Run along, deer. Don't want the wolf to catch you. Back past sawmill. Get home eventually. Back past the fuel station. And the distribution centre. And finally, we've made it home. Fantastic. Oh blimey, safe to say that that is a fair old journey. I don't want to be making that too often, and next time we go we'll have to make sure we take a faster vehicle. Right, let's get this unstrapped and we can get the chickens into their new home. And there we go, the chickens are in their new home. So I think we'll keep this cage somewhere around the back because we will probably need it again when we want to move chickens. Hell, we might even sell some chickens if the rooster gets busy enough, if you know what I mean. Cheeky boy. Right, so let's swap trailers because we need to put some sorghum into the chicken pen because they will be wanting some food. And in goes the sorghum. Fantastic. So they haven't taken too much, which is good news for us because that means that the feed is going to go a long way. I imagine that's them pretty happy now that we've got some sorghum. So let's cover on and we can get this trailer parked back up. I think we'll actually leave it out over here, so it's a little bit easier. We don't have to get it out of that shed every time, and it is covered, so it's going to fare okay outside. There we go. That should do it. Fantastic. So the chicken pen, we have our rooster, our 5 young chickens that will have to go through puberty before they can make eggs, and then our 2 older chickens which are going to be able to reproduce and also make eggs, which is fantastic. And they've got 1200 litres of sorghum, which is going to keep them very effective, and we will see the productivity go up. Fantastic. This is very good news. I think they're really going to enjoy their home here. Okay, so that is it for today. It has been a busy one. We bought a manure spreader and got manure spread on our 2 fields, although it was quite difficult to see where we have been. We then got them cultivated and drilled wheat and barley. So those fields are now flipped, and yep, they are going to be germinating in the next day or so. I think between now and next time I'm going to roll these fields so they do germinate. We've seen that many times before, so I'll get that sorted. And then we went and got our chickens. So we are making eggs on the homestead now. One more thing we are making. I hope you have enjoyed watching. If you have, remember to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't. And until next time on the Frontier Farmer, I will see you then. Cheers all. Bye bye.